Joe and I knew our first home was the starter home, as with 4 kids between us back then and now 5. It was relatively small, but it was handy for work because it was really near London. During COVID, when we were all stuck at home working, we realised that we didn't need to be quite so close to town. And we always said that if a house came up a little bit further out in the countryside, we'd keep our eyes, ears, everything open and think about moving. We'd been looking for ages and ages, and we'd actually seen a couple of places and missed out. And at the time, we were so disappointed, but sometimes you can't help but feel that things are meant to be. One day we were driving down what is now our road, and it's basically just a load of huge fields, and we saw a for sale sign up. You couldn't really even see the house that it was advertising because it was just in the middle of a field. So we did a little inspection. We drove around and we saw the then house that was up for sale, and we just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it was even up for sale because I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but when I'm looking at houses, the ones that I see on the side of the road that I think, oh my gosh, that's amazing, I never see them up for sale. It's almost like people stay in them forever and hand them down in their families. So we were just wow, I wonder what that's up for. We honestly thought it would be a ridiculous price and completely out of our budget. So we phoned them up and they gave us the price, and I honestly nearly fainted. It was the same price as our house. The house that we wanted to sell, that we were living in at that time, was the same price as this home that I just could never have imagined would ever be in our means or budget. And I remember saying to Joe, it might mean that we would need to make a little bit more of an effort travelling into work, but we'd have quadruple the amount of space for 4 big boys, which would just be the absolute dream. The house wasn't all done up and modern and new. It definitely needed a lot of TLC. So we knew that if we were moving into it, that was our maximum budget, and we'd have to do a lot of the work ourselves, or at least as much as we possibly could. But I knew I could do it. And the boys are so active and always running around. So we felt like we needed to just go for it because the outside space was incredible. I think we got really lucky because other people who were interested in the property were developers who wanted to knock it down and build houses on the land. But the lady who was living there at the time did not want that to happen at all. She wanted the house to go to another family. She'd lived there for a huge amount of her life and raised all of her children, and she was 93 years old, such a beautiful, kind lady, and needed to move quickly but did not want it being all knocked down and turned into a development. Because she needed to move quickly, the whole process of moving happened in the space of literally a few weeks. I couldn't believe we were just going to go for it. Within weeks, we'd bought Pickle Cottage, put our house up for sale, packed up our belongings and just moved. It was a complete whirlwind. We didn't tell very many people about it because it was going so quickly and everything was kind of happening how we could have only dreamed of it happening. We didn't want to jinx anything. Do you ever get that feeling where if you say it out loud too many times, it might not happen? So we just didn't say anything. The first day we got the keys, my dad met us to help us move in, and we all just sat in the kitchen and had a little cry because it didn't feel like real life and it just seemed too good to be true for us. Even now, when I look at the boys running around outside in the garden, I still cannot get my head around the fact that it's ours. It's like I have to pinch myself every single day. Once we'd been at Pickle Cottage for a few days, I started dreaming and imagining all of the things we could do to make it our home. And it's just felt so exciting because it's not a listed building and there was nothing in the property of any real historical value. It meant that we wouldn't be ruining anything or taking away from the history of the place if I changed things. So I was completely free to just make my own choices, and I felt so lucky to have that freedom. I got started with my renovating and it's been quite a journey so far. There's been some highs and some lows and plenty of cup of teas in between. If I'm honest, if you are renovating your house yourself, you're only ever going to feel homely and comfortable in the rooms that you've created when they're done. When you're living in it while you're doing the work, it can actually feel really claustrophobic and very messy. I remember some days I looked around and there were no carpets, there was dust everywhere, and it was just a complete mess. And I wondered what I'd started and if I could even keep going. But I have to be honest about that. I love the fact that it's our house, but there were definitely periods where it felt like a complete building site. And it's a double-edged sword, actually, because when the house looks like that, it gives me the motivation to do it. So it swings and roundabouts. I know it can feel really overwhelming, but I do hope that my tap to tidy DIY methods that work for me will show you how to bring some order to the chaos too.